Gabriella Nalvin has written a delightful children's book entitled Athena, The Adventures of a Fearless Dragon. This is a heartwarming story about a little dragon born with her two back feet missing. And during her journey across the country, searching for a new home, she and her brothers learn to work together to survive while strengthening their sibling bond. Athena, The Adventures of a Fearless Dragon is now available on digital platforms.
To those of you who are viewing and listening from around the world, welcome to My Journey with Paula G, where we are all juggling this journey called life while we're walking in the gifts and the talents that God has given each and every one of us, and that includes you as well. If this is your first time on the journey, welcome. We are so incredibly glad that you have joined us. And if you're returning, thank you so much for your continued support, for tuning in, listening, and viewing the journey. And we'd also like to thank our underwriters who are embracing the journey through their underwriting support. You know, underwriting is a great way to gain exposure for your business, product, or service while embracing the journey. And without our underwriters, we would not have the platform from which we bring such inspirational and motivational testimonies to you. So thank you so much to our underwriters. If you are interested in becoming an underwriter, you can email us, jerryvoicelive@gmail.com or paula@paulagvoice.com. Make sure you write underwriting opportunities in the subject line and we'll be sure to get back to you. Also, I encourage you to stay connected with me through my website, paulagvoice.com, as well as across all social media platforms, Paula G Voice. That's it, Paula G Voice across all social media platforms. Y'all know I always tell you that time is precious. It is the one thing that you cannot get back. So for you all to think it not robbery to spend this time with us each week, whether you're listening, tuning in, you're coming back, you're viewing, you're listening to repeat episodes, we truly appreciate you. Thank you all so very much. Well, before we chat with our guest, I want to share a bit of Paula's perspective with you today. This one's just a little bit long, but I'm gonna get through it. And this comes from my book, which is entitled My Journey to Lady Wisdom After Midnight. And it is the journey of the transformation from who I was to who I am today. So here we go. The journey to transformation, it takes patience. The journey takes centering yourself, getting still, getting quiet. For some of us, in order to do that, we must be very intentional because in the midst of jobs, spouses, significant other, children, deadlines, traffic, world events, we get distracted. Our brain is overwhelmed and we can't even remember what we did an hour ago. However, at some point, we have to get in that proverbial space of being sick and tired of being sick and tired and get mad enough, yes, get mad enough to make a difference in your life. I think during these last couple of years, when we have come through, and I think we're still going through this pandemic season, I think some of us, the light bulb has kind of gone off, you know, where we stopped and we said, okay, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing? And we've had an opportunity to stop and reflect on what we've been doing. Do we need to make adjustments? And how can we flourish in the gifts and the talents that God has given us? And sometimes you do have to reach that point of getting sick and tired of getting sick and tired, because, you know, they say insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. We have to change that in our lives. We have to change that. We have to visualize what it is that God has purposed us to do. We have to write the plan so that plan can manifest and we can truly walk in the gifts and talents that God has given us. So I hope that helps you, because that is today's Paula's perspective. Well, all right, it is time for our guest. Are y'all ready? It is time for our guest today. And our guest is an executive career and business coach. She's an author. She's one of the highest ranking African-American women, the Global Executive VP of Human Resources in the US and Canada. I might not have articulated that correctly, but I'm gonna have her correct me on that if I didn't. She has been featured in Essence Magazine and Black Enterprise, and she's also part of the Kingdom Business Network. If y'all remember our former guest, Jason Davis, who was here with us, and she's part of that network, juggling this journey called life. Ladies and gentlemen, she is Janelle Reid. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Paula. It's such an honor and a privilege to be able to be on your show today. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm so excited, and whenever we have the opportunity to, you have guests that can share their journey that will encourage others. We always look forward to the opportunity. But I want you to share with us, some years ago, you went to a career fair that changed the trajectory of your life. Share with us a bit about that experience.
Absolutely. So I remember a friend of mine saying, "Hey, Janelle, let's go to this job fair." And I honestly didn't want to go. It was one of those things where you're like, listen, I got to focus on school. Like, I don't really have time. And I remember she said, listen, it's not going to take that much. What is it going to cost you anyway? And I remember, okay, I'm going to go. And I remember going, and I remember her name was Michelle. And I'll never forget it. They had tables around and showing like, this is what we do. And I went to this woman's table at this company. It was an electric or gas company. And she was wearing the shirt and the logo and all the things. And she said, hey, come over here. And she's like, my name is Michelle. And she just has so much energy. And I was like, what do you do? And I remember her telling me, listen, I work in HR and I enjoy helping people. And she was so jovial. She was so happy. And I asked her, I said, are they, I'm sure you're getting paid for this, but I said, but you genuinely seem happy. And she said, you know what? She said, I get paid for what I do. She said, but it's my passion that brings me the most joy. And I was like, well, I'm here in school and I'm here to get a job to pay my bills. But it struck me because she was so happy, not because of the money she was making, because we didn't even talk about money. She talked about her passion and what she loved about helping people. And from that point on, that sparked my interest in HR. She ignited the fire in me that I didn't even know was there about HR and the point of being able to help people. And that to me just changed my whole way of thinking about what I wanted to do in life and my purpose.
Wow. That is huge. And it's those, I think, was it Oprah maybe that coined that phrase, these aha moments,
Yes.
when those things that occur and you have that aha moment that just really changes that trajectory, of your life. So from that point on, the doors for you were open to doing what it is that you're doing today. How has that journey been able to bless others? How have you seen your journey being able to bless others and to pour into the lives of others?
That's a great question. So I started from the bottom in HR to work my way up. And I did that with the intention of being able to learn every facet and every discipline in that. What I didn't know was that fast forward years later, when I was executive vice president, they gave me one country and then things went really well and they gave me two countries. How I was able to bless others is I was able to pour my tribal knowledge of what I learned in them. One of the things about HR is after you get your degree, after you get all of that, you still need practical experience. And most HR professionals are not going to be willing to take the time to pour into you. And so I was very passionate while I was in corporate America that I was going to pay it forward with my knowledge, with my experience, with my influence. So some of the ways that I was able to bless others is when I first started out at the company that I became an executive vice president, I started as a manager. And then when I became executive vice president, I was able to literally handpick those for a specific mentorship to give them specific influence and be able to pour into them and so that they could pour into their teams. So I would literally bring everyone together and I had the autonomy to be able to push forward women of color, minority. So I was in that position to be able to do that. And so D&I wasn't just talked about, it was actually executed in the organization. So those are just a few ways that I was able to give back by helping to build us up and pour into us where in other sections or ventures you would not have been able to do so.
So you were really in a position of change. God was using you to the skills, the gifts, the talents, the education, the knowledge, the positioning, putting you in a position to make a difference and to make changes. Now, there was something that I saw where you had indicated 5 things you wish someone had told you before you became a C-suite executive. First of all, what's a C-suite executive?
Anyone that has the name chief in front of it. So
Okay.
chief executive operator, etc.
So give us maybe 1 or 2 things that you wish someone.
Okay. So the number one thing, let me start there. I wish someone would have told me is that there is no work-life balance. I wish someone would have told me that, because my passion was to climb the corporate ladder in HR. But in the midst of doing that, my personal life suffered because I had no balance. But it wasn't my job to balance it. It was my job to set boundaries. And I didn't set good boundaries. So because I didn't set good boundaries, other people weren't going to respect what I didn't have set up. And so as I began to climb and to scale, other things suffered. So what I learned was set the boundaries before you accept the promotion, set the boundaries before you accept the more money, set the boundaries before you take on more, because the fewer boundaries to have, the harder it is to climb the ladder. If you refuse to respect boundaries for yourself, others won't either. So that's number one.
And I'm writing it down. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, take some notes. Go ahead.
Number two, I would say, is that your journey in leadership is not about the title. It's not, the title is good, but it is about being able to cultivate other leaders. And if you miss that point, then you have missed leadership altogether. And so one of the things that I wish I would have learned early, I learned it, but I wish I would have learned it earlier, especially before embarking upon being in the C-suite, right? Because everybody wants the notoriety of being there, but you don't actually want the price that it pays to sit in the seat. But that's a different topic for a different day. Nevertheless, I digress. So what I learned was I started to make my measurement less about how much my bonus was and more about how many leaders I was producing, because my legacy of leadership was much more important. Because when I'm no longer here, no one's going to care about how many hours I worked, they're going to care about, did she usher in the next level of leadership? So that's number two.
Wow. That is, I love it. I love it. It's not about necessarily the dollars. It's about what the legacy you leave, the impact that you leave in others. And that kind of resonates with me, because I think back to my own personal journey in education and what it is, the seeds that you plant, basically, the seeds that you plant and how those particular seeds grow. So we had a guest on a while back that I think is just a wonderful gentleman. He's part of the Kingdom Business Network, which you also now are part of. So tell us a bit about that collaboration.
So Jason Davis, who I met through Kingdom Business Network. So Kingdom Business Network is a phenomenal network on Clubhouse. The founder is Janelle E. Martin and co-founder Chandler Bailey. And it's about almost 2 years now, anniversary. And it was something where it was a room on Clubhouse called Prophetic Planning for Your Day. And from there, birthed Kingdom Business Network. And Kingdom Business Network it went from maybe 20 members to 70,000 today. And Jason and I were able to connect because Kingdom Business Network, we had businesses. It was a networking of Christian business owners. I want to say actually it's kingdompreneurs. Let me distinct, because there is a distinction. Kingdompreneurs who literally have businesses that were birthed from God, that are led by God and infused by God's anointing. And so Jason and I were able to connect. He is actually a board member of Kingdom Business Network, and we connected on that network, and we began to just, wow, you're on fire. I'm on fire. He's talking about wisdom. I'm talking about HR. And we just are literally, when we first met in Atlanta a year ago, it was literally life-changing. And from there, we've just stayed connected. And so from that, there's so many things that are going to be birthed from him and I collaboration, because God never gives us our business just for us. It's for the multitude behind us. And we have to understand the times and the seasons to be able to partner and collaborate to birth it out. So I'm excited.
And I think that's so important, because as we are juggling this journey called life, as we are walking in the gifts and talents that God is giving us and being led by him, he leads us and guides us to intersect with those with, like, as they say, like-minded people, in which we can both continue to move forward in those gifts, in those talents, to pour into to others and continue, to plant those seeds all around. If you could go back,
Yes.
however far back you choose to go,
Mhm.
in whatever season it is, and have a seat in front of Janelle. Maybe it's a season where you were experiencing some sort of difficulty, whatever that was, and you
Mhm.
could have a seat in front of her. What would speak to her? What would you say to her at that point in time to encourage her, knowing
Oh,
what you know now?
knowing what I know now,
Mhm.
um, that your pain isn't punishment, it's preparation,
Mm,
and that no seed that you've ever sown will ever fall to the ground unharvested by God as long as you keep Him first.
mm.
I would tell that to myself.
Yes. Yeah. It's so sometimes it's, when we reflect on where we were and where we are and that journey within ourselves, it's so interesting to see how we've changed and how we've transformed and how inclining that ear to the Holy Spirit, we've been able to get clarity.
Yes.
You find that you get clarity in listening to that still small voice. I always say at the end of the show, but listening to that still small voice and having him lead and guide as well. What are some of the things that you see on the in the forefront in the future that you would like to manifest?
I would say I would like to embark upon a world where ministry and marketplace both entwined together it's ushering the new level of normalcy.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes we have so many giftings, so many talents, and we think that it's either or when it's really and both. And so I'd like to see in a future state where marketplace ministry is now becoming the new norm, where kingdom business owners are the dominant and living in those places of wealth, not just of monetary perspective, but in our health and our spiritual walk, all of that, where marketplace ministry is executed at its highest and finest level. And from that,
Hmm.
I think that there will be a birthing of new levels of what leadership looks like, what submission actually looks like in its highest and finest level, because you don't get far if you can't be submitted. And just being able to operate and being the best and operating in the lane that God gave us and not somebody else's.
Oh,
That's
I like that. Operating in the lane. Oh, operating in the lane that God gave us
yeah, yeah.
individually. My lane ain't your lane. Your lane ain't my lane. I know it's bad grammar. My lane
Nope.
is not your
Yep.
lane. Your lane is not. I got excited. Your,
Yeah.
but operating in what he gave you, and then sometimes what he gave you doesn't fit into the box that you see others in. Not that that's a bad thing. That may be where he put them. He might have put you in a different. That is so. Oh my gosh, that's so huge. That is definitely so huge. That is so huge. What can you share with that person that's viewing or that's listening, that may be somewhere on their journey where they feel hopeless? They have these visions and they have these dreams, but they don't see the connection of getting where it is that they desire to get. What can you share with them?
Don't pay attention to what you see, but focus on what God said.
Mm,
Sometimes that you can be so inundated in your own mind and what you want to see and how you think it should look and how you think it should be happening that you forget what he said, because what he said will always trump what you see. So if you line up what he said, you will see what he said. So don't get discouraged.
mhm,
Don't it's easy to get discouraged, right? Faith is a currency. We have to feed it, you have to fuel it. But never forget, he is not a man that he should lie. Focus on what he said, and he will show you and have you see what he said, not what you said, but what he said.
Did y'all get that? I know you probably didn't get a chance to write it down, but I do hope and pray that you all need to go back and watch this episode, because she dropped all these different nuggets, and I know each and every one of you will be blessed. Janelle, share with the audience your social media and your website.
My social media is Instagram. You can go to Janelle L. Reid, and Facebook, Janelle Reid. And you can go to my website at Divine Career Solutions.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for sharing so many valuable nuggets. And ladies and gentlemen, again, at the end of each of these shows, I just, I come away full myself, and I come away excited because all of these different testimonies are just, I feel, are seeds that can be planted in each and every one of you at the appropriate time. Somebody that comes on this platform will share something that will pour into your life and that will encourage you as you juggle your journey called life while walking in the gifts and the talents that God has given you. So please, please stay encouraged. Don't, as she said, don't be deterred by what's in front of you. It's all about the vision and the dream and what God has poured inside of you. There are going to be obstacles, absolutely. There are going to be obstacles, but our job is to stay focused on that vision. As we say, write the vision, make it plain. Focus on what it is that He has given us, and incline your ear and be guided by the direction that God is pointing you in. So I pray, I know you got something from that testimony today. We have come to the end of our journey. Oh gosh, the time always goes so quickly. But thank you all so much for joining us, each and every one of you, for tuning in, for viewing, for listening, for watching. Our underwriters, thank you all so much for your support and providing a platform for my journey to be on, to share these powerful, powerful testimonies. Make sure you stay connected with me, Paula G. Voice, across all social media platforms. PaulaGVoice.com is my website. And remember, y'all know where I'm going. Some of you can say it with me. Here we go. The greatest conversation that you will ever have is the one that takes place in between your ears. What are you speaking to yourself? Is God a part of that conversation? And are you listening to His still small voice? Until next time, embrace the journey.
Praise the Lord. My name is Dr. Roosevelt Robinson Jr., and I just self-published a book entitled God's Favor, My Wife. This book was prophesied by my apostle many years ago that said, I will write this book and it will bless many. I want you to go pick you up a copy. This book will inspire you, encourage you, and bless your soul. If you're seeking for salvation, if you're seeking for a closer walk with God, if you're looking for ideas for your youth ministry, if you're looking for that husband or searching for that husband or wife that God has promised you or that you desire, this book will inspire you, encourage you, and help you on your journey with God. Go to barnesandnoble.com, that's bn.com or amazon.com, and pick you up a copy. I guarantee it will bless you. I have shared my experience and my testimony of how I met my wife and we got married, and how I have gained favor down through the years being married to my wife. Be blessed.